Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started in just a moment, just allowing a few more people to join. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kayla Lee, and I'm really excited to walk you all through our first Women in Quantum series. I'll tell you a bit more about the series, what to expect, but really looking forward to today. For those that are joining us in the southeastern area, hopefully folks are keeping dry as best they can. And thanks for the flexibility. Unfortunately, we were not able to do this live in Atlanta, but hoping that in the coming months we'll be able to see you all in person. So what we'll walk through today, I'll talk a little bit about why we're here. I'll say a bit about the Women in Quantum series. I'll tell you a bit about myself and the IBM HBCU Quantum Center, and then I'll hand it over to Victoria, who we're really excited to hear a bit more about the work that she's doing. So why are we here? As I was talking with the team about why we wanted to bring people here, there were a lot of words that came to mind: to excite, motivate, engage, inform, to direct, to guide, to connect people, to inspire. Really, we want the words we say today, the people that you all meet through the coming months, to serve as like an entry point into the emerging and engaging field of quantum information science and engineering. So we definitely hope that we excite and motivate those who are already in the field or looking to learn more. We want to make the IBM HBCU Quantum Center and the community around us a place where we're really engaging a group of people. We want to make sure that we're informing folks of what quantum information science is, how a lot of us got on our journey. We want to direct and guide, and so making sure that through the things you all learn, we're able to sort of guide career decisions, internships, and those sorts of things. Connect. So making sure that the people that are in this community are able to connect and engage with each other. And finally, inspire. I think for me, when I look back at my scientific career, my overall journey, I've had so many mentors, friends, colleagues, peers that have really served as an inspiration and helped get me to where I am today. So want to use this platform to encourage and do that for others. For the Women in Quantum series, this is really a monthly series to highlight and celebrate contributions and the forward-looking impact on women in quantum information. So on October 24th, we'll have Michelle Lawley, who's an optical physicist at Continuum. And December 5th, we'll have Serena Ely, who's assistant professor at the University of Washington. Really looking forward to continuing to keep this community connected and interacting. If there are people you'd like to hear from, feel free to let us know. And we're looking forward to the next few months. So a bit about me. I'm Kayla. I'm a scientist by training, so I have a PhD in systems biology. My current job at IBM is really focused on ecosystems and partnerships. And aside from work, I'm a lover of all things related to both education and sustainability. Just as a quick walkthrough of who I am and my educational experience, the circles represent all of the places that I've lived and an estimate on how long I've been there. I have a bachelor's in molecular and cellular biology from Hampton University. I think there are a few things I could say about how my scientific career started, but I'd say the biggest thing is that I've always been interested in science, in particular biology. I knew as soon as I started at Hampton that I was not interested in medical school and instead started my path through research. And so did several internships at Hampton, at Yale, at the Broad Institute of MIT and Harvard. And that eventually led me to get my PhD in systems biology and quantitative genetics. I originally really wanted to be in the academic field more as a professor, and a bit through my PhD, I ended up switching careers, and that's essentially what led me to quantum computing at IBM. And so since 2018, I've been at IBM working in quantum computing, and really excited to tell you all a bit more about how that's all been brought to life. So just to highlight a bit about what got me here, I wanted to say a few things. One, that mentors matter. And so making sure that you're connecting and finding different opportunities to engage with mentors. Be curious. And so it's totally okay if you're kind of led by that curiosity. I think it's one of the things that make science and being a scientist or engineer the most important. Take a leap. And so think about new places, new fields, new domains. Don't let that be something that scares you. Do good work. And so, one of the things that I always tell the people that I work with is the importance of just making sure that the good work that you do really leads by example. A single conversation can change anything. So, having those conversations, letting people know what you're interested in. We're all here to help and sort of guide and direct you. And so we want to be that and learn from people you admire. And so I often encourage people that when they hear people that really excite them, taking the chance to kind of learn the things that they've done and how they've gotten there. Now, to switch gears a bit, what is quantum computing? What you see on the side of the screen is the inside of a quantum computer. I like telling people that it's like beautifully designed. And so what you're looking at, sometimes we refer to it as a chandelier or the heart of a quantum computer. Oftentimes, if you're seeing one out in the wild, you'll see it surrounded by a large cylindrical tube. But the way you can think about how a quantum computer works is with each layer that you go down in the system is getting cooler and cooler and cooler. And essentially, quantum computers are a new model of computation that uses the principles of quantum mechanics. And so we know that in order to observe those kind of funky quantum mechanical properties, there are essentially two things we can do. We can either make them really cold or really small. And so in this case, we take advantage of the cycling of isotopes, which make the system perform really cool. And so with each layer you go down, the system gets cooler and cooler. And then at the bottom, you see this quantum processor where the actual magic happens. Everything else are kind of the coaxial cables and different things that keep the system warm and then allow us to communicate and read off signals. Quantum computers have the potential to solve problems that are intractable on today's classical computers. And there's this large and growing community of researchers, scientists, developers, and engineers that are exploring where it will have an impact. And so at IBM, we're really focused on both the potential application areas, so think things like simulating quantum mechanical systems, artificial intelligence and machine learning, search and risk analysis, and optimization. But throughout this series, you'll hear beyond just the applications of quantum computers. You'll hear people that are actually building systems. You'll hear people that are focused more on the optics side of things. And so we're really hoping that you all understand how vast the field of quantum information science and engineering is. And so at IBM, we really focus on both building quantum computers, building the hardware, and then the application and theory on top. But you could imagine that there are other companies, other organizations that are all thinking about quantum information science in different ways. Now, just to switch gears, the IBM HBCU Quantum Center was founded 4 years ago, back in 2020, with the idea of how can we ensure that we're being really intentional about the communities, the students, the faculty, and people that we're bringing into the field of quantum information science. So overall, the goal was to develop a pipeline of interdisciplinary, talented, well-trained academics and professionals from underrepresented communities needed to foster and expedite quantum computing research and development. Essentially, what the center does is bring together students, researchers at a network of HBCUs to both build capabilities in research and education. A lot of how the center was founded was based on some of the principles from a team up report that came out a few years ago. Essentially, this report said that there are 5 key factors that contribute to some of the challenges we have in growing the physics community. This includes things like belonging and your physics identity, academic and personal support, and then leadership and structures. And so the center itself has 3 main pillars: build, support, connect. Build is all about building a community and fostering a sense of belonging. And so we want people to know that they really do belong in this field, and that they should see themselves as scientists and engineers. Support, and so providing funding for graduate and undergraduate research. One of the things that we've seen, especially when it comes to persistence in the field, is access to research opportunities greatly contributes to success later down the line. And then finally, leadership and structures. And so, how can we make sure that we're connecting talent to the quantum research experts and community? And so, I'd say that one of the things we want to do within the center is work to make the world a little bit smaller. As far as who is in the center, we often think about things in 5 different regions. So the Mid-Atlantic, the Virginia, the Carolinas region, Southeastern and Southwestern, where we have several different universities. In fact, 27 historically Black colleges and universities that are building capabilities in the space. We're working with over 30 undergraduate and graduate students each year that are conducting research in the field and on IBM systems, and we've engaged over 80 faculty. And so looking forward to really release some more updates on how the community is growing, but also some of the great work that's coming out of it. Finally, just to highlight a few different partnerships that we have within the space. One is with SPIE. And so a few years ago, we launched the IBM SPIE HBCU Faculty Accelerator Award in Quantum Optics and Photonics. This is a great opportunity for faculty that are really looking to accelerate and promote some of the research that they're doing. With Fermilab, there's a new initiative from one of the Renew grants where we're working to bring students that are performing research and engaging in internships. We've hosted several workshops at Brookhaven National Lab, which generally brings together some of our faculty and more advanced students. And then we've also been partnering with Amy to make sure that we're strengthening research capacity and engagement at HBCU engineering teams. So lots of really great work that's going on, and looking forward to highlight that more in the future. And so with that, I'd like to hand it over to Victoria. Victoria has been engaged in the center for a while, and really one of the first students. So it's really exciting to have her as one of our kickoff speakers for the session. She is a 2023 graduate of Howard University, where she majored in physics as an esteemed Karsh STEM scholar. She's also a member of the Searles Research Group and an IBM HBCU Center Scholar. She will today talk about her journey in quantum, which is still ongoing as a second-year applied physics PhD student at another HU, Harvard University. Victoria is a proud native of Atlanta, Georgia, where she's happy to share her experiences with us today. So with that, I will hand it off to Victoria.
Okie doke. Hold on. Okay. Everybody can see my screen, I think. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Adebayo, and today I'll be talking about my journey in quantum thus far as a second-year PhD student at Harvard. So I'm going to just start off talking about how I got interested in quantum. So I actually got interested in quantum in high school. So I was also always interested in like physics and chemistry in particular, but I learned a lot about quantum computing just from being online. So I remember watching like a YouTube video and learning about quantum computing and how it's cutting edge science and learning about all its possible applications. And so that made me just really excited, and I really wanted to be a part of that seemingly growing research field. So I decided to major in physics. And so I went to Howard University, as Kayla said. I majored in physics, minored in math and philosophy, and I graduated last year, May of 2023. And throughout my undergrad experience at Howard, I took on a lot of different internship experiences. Some of the places I did internships at were Argonne National Lab, NASA Ames. I did the Cure program at IBM in Princeton. I got the chance to do an internship at École Polytechnique in Paris through the University of Michigan, as well as did some research through the Center for Integrated Quantum Materials at Howard, as well as, of course, the IBM HBCU Quantum Center at Howard as well. And so throughout all of this, I got to experience a lot of different areas of research. I did a lot of characterization research. I worked on scanning, tunneling microscopy and spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy. I got to work with quantum materials like twisted bilayer graphene. And then I also, through the IBM HBCU Quantum Center, did some physics education research to create more cost-effective experiments for the Faraday rotation experiment so that there's more access for physics education. I also got to get some software engineering experience. I did a little quantum software engineering project during my IBM and Princeton internship. And so I was able to gain a lot of research experience in undergrad. Being a part of the IBM HFU Quantum Center played a large role in just like giving me mentorship. I've known Kayla as well as my professor, Dr. Searles from Howard. And I got to like work with them and like learn a lot about quantum throughout my undergrad experiences. And so that all led up to me applying to grad school. So I applied to grad school and I got into my top 3 schools, luckily. And so I decided to go to Harvard. And I would say like the biggest reasons I chose Harvard were primarily because I wanted to be in a community where there were other Black women who were in physics. Of course, physics, there aren't that many like Black women in physics in general. And so there were several schools I visited where I would be like the first or the only Black woman in the department. And so I didn't want to necessarily deal with the burden of being the first or the only. I also wanted to, of course, be in a place that has a lot of resources. And so like just like between Harvard and then like MIT's down the street, and they're all a bunch of schools in Boston, I have all the resources that I need to do any type of research that I'd like to explore. And then, of course, in addition to that, like advisors, people who I was interested in their research played a large role in me choosing Harvard. And so I'd say that like my first year of grad school was very rough. As Kayla said in my bio, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and then I went to Howard in Washington, D.C. So the whole vibe of Boston is just so different. And so in addition to that, just dealing with the cold and just dealing with just a completely different, type of a completely different vibe from how Howard was adjusting to Harvard has been a bit of a process. However, I've luckily been able to find that community that I came to Harvard for. Sorry. And so I'm very happy that I did choose here because, like, things are really tough, but like having people behind you who you can talk to, who you can bounce ideas off of, and peers that you can rely on who can calm you down and calm your anxieties about like the situations that you're in is so important. I think also as a grad student, a lot of us deal with imposter syndrome. That is something that I dealt with a lot my first year. Just being in class and feeling like, oh, I'm so confused. Like, am I the only one who's confused, who doesn't understand stuff? Being afraid to ask questions or being afraid to even like talk to your peers because you think that they're going to think that you're like lost or you're dumb or you're stupid or something. But it's like so many of us are just so confused. Like grad school is not meant to be easy. You're taking on a lot of complex and new information. And so I think just kind of breaking that barrier and talking to my classmates and like kind of realizing that, oh, like we're all confused together. And so having that community, having study groups, and just having the opportunity to really work with other people like in your program has helped so much in just helping me adjust and get through like the difficulty of just being in classes. And then of course, as well as adjusting to it's kind of like the stress of both dealing with classes and research. I had done like classes and research in undergrad before. However, like the intensity of the research is just higher in grad school as well as like the intensity of classes. So it's just like it was really tough for me in my first year, like adjusting to that. However, I feel like I'm in a much better place, just like I said, from having a community and learning different ways to manage my time. In addition to that, I've also dealt with some setbacks, which can be really discouraging. I unfortunately the rotations I did in my first year didn't end up with me having a permanent advisor. So I'm still in the process of looking for a permanent advisor, which is kind of a stressful position to be in grad school. However, I feel like having, again, like a community of people to talk to who have been in your situation, who, didn't have an advisor semester, it's like really helpful, because just like, okay, like this isn't permanent, and this is going to turn out like fine at some point. I just have to like keep on looking and like just be resilient and persevere through like these challenges. And so that has been like so important for me. And so um guess I can talk more broadly about like all things that have helped me. So one thing that's really big, that's kind of cheesy, people talk about, but like self-care and rest is so important. Like it's so easy in grad school when you're swamped to just like forget to eat, or not sleep enough, or not do like really basic things, not drink enough water, like all these things that you need to do to take care of your body. Like it is so important, because you cannot do anything if your body's run down, if you're mentally just not in a good place. And so like prioritizing like rest and your body and taking care of yourself is so important. As I said before, I cannot stress this enough, but community is so important. Like when I say that the reason why like I chose Harvard was because I wanted like some kind of a community, like of other Black physicists. I'm really happy that I did choose like this school, because it's just like, if like when you're dealing with stuff, it's so important to be with people who can share your experience, who can empathize with you, and who like understand what it's like to be one of the few people who are like you in a field. And then of course, like if you're religious or spiritual, whatever keeps you grounded, that's very important, as well as engaging in different hobbies. Like I play the bass guitar, I started playing tennis recently, like I do yoga, like all these things like play a large role in just keeping you in a good place mentally. Because like dealing with the same research problems, or dealing with like things just not working out sometimes in your research, or in whatever way things might not be working out throughout a PhD, it's so important to have hobbies and things that you do to take your mind off of the stress of just constantly like being focused on like doing heavy like math and science and physics all day, like doing heavy thinking all day. You need to like take a break. And like little, like a lot of people don't know this, but like your brain is still doing a lot of like background thinking when you're not still focusing on like your research. And so it's important to like take those breaks, so that like while you're doing other things, your brain can have time to like cook and like think about like some of the ideas that you have. um and so I'd say like thus far these things have helped me a lot, just getting through and being resilient in this process. Like I said, my first year grad school was really difficult for me, but I am here. I'm in my second year, and I'm going to keep on going. And all these things have helped me a lot. I definitely like gear this talk more towards like undergrads who are like considering grad school. And so I hope these things that I've told you have helped, and like have given you an idea of like kind of what your path can look like, and like some of the tools that you can use, and like to like kind of cope and just get through like some of these difficult times. And so thank you all so much for listening, and I think I can take questions now. I think Kayla can also take questions now, for I guess for both of us.
Yes, so I think the chat is going to reopen. Hi, everyone. I'm Professor Thomas Searles. I, with Kayla, started the IBM HBCU Quantum Center. And yes, so I think the chat is going to reopen. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry for the small technical difficulty. Um, let us see if I can open the chat right quick. Or what we can do is I can ask a couple questions, if that works. So, Victoria,
Mhm.
could you tell us of all the research experiences that you've had that you showed, going even to Paris or working with me at Howard or all of that, even in the pandemic? What do you think was probably one or two experiences that best prepared you for graduate school at Harvard?
That's a great question. Um, I say like actually one of the best one was my internship in Paris. I think sorry, there was an echo. Okay. Um Yeah, I would say that my internship in Paris was probably the one that prepared me the most for grad school. That was the only summer internship that I actually had that was in person because of COVID, unfortunately. So I actually had the chance to just be in a lab doing hands-on like experimental research, as well as like being like in a place that's really diverse, like dealing with sometimes language barriers and dealing with all of these different things. And so being at a place like Harvard that's very diverse, people from all over the world, having like kind of the soft skills of like learning to interact with people in different cultures, and then also just getting some of the hands-on experience was probably the best, or I guess the most, yeah, the experience that prepared me the most for grad school.
Okay, awesome. So, Dr. Lee, uh, why is it important, in your opinion, for women to consider careers in quantum information science and engineering? And what barriers do you think still exist for women in this space?
Hmm, interesting set of questions. Um, I think in general, it's just really great to see like all people interested in the field and like quantum information science in general. I like telling people that there was once a time where I think most people were really interested in physics and they thought maybe I could be an astronaut, but like what else is there? And so with this field of quantum information science really becoming bigger, there's just this opportunity for engineers, for scientists, for kind of all people based on their different STEM interests to be engaged. And obviously, we'd like to see more women in this space. I think that some of your STEM fields like biology, which have a little bit, they're a bit closer to parity. But when you look at fields like physics, you often see there's maybe one or two women in the class, and that gets even lower when you consider Black women. And so I think to date, we're just over 100 Black women that have PhDs in physics. And so generally, I think it'd be great just to see those numbers get bigger. And then I also just think the field is so interesting that we want to make sure that people are engaged. When it comes to barriers, I think the most obvious one is just being one in a million, right? And so being in a space that's dominated by men generally and men that all look the same can just be challenging. It's really easy to feel like one and only, but then also trying to find the right spaces where you can connect and build community. And then I'd say that you even see some of these things in like corporate America where, lots of companies are saying people need to go back into offices, and generally things like women or diverse people are the most impacted by those sorts of roles. And so there are lots of barriers from just being the only one, general constraints within the workplace today, the fact that academia is still a male dominated type of career. Um, but as far as ways to get around that, I do think Victoria mentioned the importance of community. When I was in grad school, I was part of a fellowship program called the HHMI Gilliam Fellows. And once a year, we got to get together. And that was honestly one of the highlights of the year. And so reminding myself that there are people like me and building that community, I think can really help counteract that solitude that you often feel in a research space.
Okay, so here goes a question, and we see it on the screen. I think most people see it. Hi, Ariana. So I think this question is for both of you, actually, because you both went to graduate school. So when did you realize that you wanted to go to graduate school, and what advice would you give to students in undergrad trying to figure out what program fits your interests? So Victoria, maybe you can take it first. I think Victoria might be frozen. And so Kayla, maybe you can take it next.
Sure. So I knew pretty quickly that Like I said, I was a biology major, and I knew very quickly that I did not want to go to medical school. So it wasn't clear at the time what other options there were. And the way I actually started my grad school personal statement, which was now 10 plus years ago, was that I was in a classroom with a professor. She asked who didn't want to go to medical school, and I raised my hand. And she was like, you should consider research. And that's kind of what opened up this field of research to me. And so I chatted with a professor who was like, this is essentially what a scientist is. This is what it needs to do research. And that started this series of different internships. And I'd say with each internship, I really validated the fact that I like to do research. I like the idea of not knowing and understanding. I like the learning and discovery part of things. And so I always encourage people to use internship experiences to learn what they like, but also what they don't like. As far as advice on people that are trying to find a program that fits your interests, once again, I think that using as much opportunity and space to explore is really important. I was like very laser focused in undergrad about the type of research that I wanted to do. But then I also had some experiences to other spaces, but like you really only learn once you get there. For the longest, I just knew I wanted to be a structural biologist. And then I learned about the process of actually making a crystal. And I was like, actually, never mind. Maybe I'm not that patient of a person. And so talking to people becomes really important. And then my last thought around just finding programs is like make a plan. And so all graduate programs are different. And so even within Harvard, there are millions of programs in biology or chemistry or physics. Understanding how those different programs are structured, finding multiple professors that do things that you're interested in. You never know if those professors will be accepting students, if it's a good fit, or that sort of thing, but making sure that there are multiple professors that you're interested in. And then the community. Like I joined a program at Harvard where I really liked the students within my program. And so I'd say like research interest, student community, and then just overall fit are things to consider. And then make a plan. And so if you are interested in grad school, making sure that you have those internship experiences, that is extremely important. And I always say the second most important thing is recommendation letters. And so making sure that you have people in your network to advocate for you. And then I think that how you write your personal statement and talk about who you are and why they should consider you is really your opportunity to sort of be an open book. And so I love working with students on personal statements and grad school applications. And so definitely feel free to reach out if you are thinking about grad school.
Yep. And then just a note there that the IBM HBCU Quantum Center will do a lot of that for the scholars, especially this year with the student programming. So look forward to that during the fall. Did you have any comments, Victoria, for this? When did you realize you wanted to go to graduate school, other than Dr. Searles forcing you to go? Just playing.
Yeah, I started off in like a STEM program at Howard where the goal is to get more underrepresented minorities to get STEM PhDs. So I think that I kind of had the idea that I wanted to do a PhD like by the time I had already like started undergrad. And so I guess like Kayla said, a lot of the advice that I would give is kind of the same. Try to do like summer internships or even like internships during the year. Do your best on them and try to kind of accumulate like, mentors and people who can help you, who can write great letters of rec for you. And also like reaching out to people early is also good, depending on the school. And like the professor, I guess, reaching out to professors like even before you apply can help. When you go to conferences, making sure to meet people or like talk about your research interests with people. That also helps so that you're like known to people before. So those are all things that I think are really helpful.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I remember that you were able to come to the APS March meeting when it was in Chicago, facilitated by the IBM HBCU Quantum Center. And then I think you got to see different places in Chicago. And I think that was a really good time. So thank you for adding that. Is there another question in the chat? Yes. So from Rashid Jahib for Victoria, how do you have access to resources that served you when coming to graduate school in terms of quantum computing? Was there a high learning curve technically? And I wanted to just add a different question too on the back end of that, so that you were able to take quantum computing from one of the true leaders in the field at Harvard University. So how was that experience taking a quantum class from someone like Professor Lukin?
Yeah, it was really great. It's like a very difficult course. Definitely one of the courses when I was talking about difficult courses, but I learned a lot. It was yeah, it was a really great experience. Yeah, in addition to that, I guess answering Rashid's question, um, yeah, it's definitely like served me a lot in just like the research areas I've been able to explore. My first year, I was able to do a lot of research, like that involved fabrication. I think having like a clean room is like so nice that has like all like most of the equipment that you would need to do any fabrication you want to do. Actually, all of the equipment you need to do the fabrication you want to do. Um, and then yeah, it was definitely a high learning curve for me. Like you have to go through all the clean room trainings and stuff like that. But I guess that's one example of like having access to resources because I have friends that go to school like even just at Johns Hopkins who have to like drive all the way to New York to do fabrication because they don't have like a clean room. So I think those are the type of things that I mean when I talk about like the benefits of going to a place that has a lot of resources. So
Okay, great. So what are the most exciting trends, breakthroughs in quantum research that you're currently following? Very good question, Joy. Oh, either
I'll
one of y'all?
start and then maybe I
Uh,
can hand off to Victoria. Like I said, at IBM, we're really focused on building the path to a fault tolerant quantum computer. So for us, anything around error correction, error mitigation, and just ways to increase performance on computers is extremely interesting. And then obviously, the other side of that coin is this is great. What can we do with it? And so thinking about things from an applications perspective. I work in corporate America, so most of my answers are very like industry wants to know what the impact could be. So those are the two things that I'd say we're really looking forward to. We also recently announced like partnerships we have with startups on just increasing performance overall. And so for us, it's quantum computers are great. How can we build the best ones, and what can we do with them? So yeah, that's my perspective.
yeah, I think
Victoria, did
also
you
like
have?
hmm? In line
Oh,
with
sorry.
Kayla, yeah. Kind of like yeah, I guess I'm just most excited for the possible applications and stuff. Yeah, learning more about like what algorithms would actually be useful and so yeah.
Great. Awesome. Great question. Oh, one more question. So how do you all manage work-life balance, especially in such a demanding and intellectually intensive field like quantum research? Again, from Joy.
Yeah, or I can go ahead. Yeah, so like I said in my presentation, kind of like all the things that I talked about probably like play a large role in me um kind of focusing on my work life balance. So, like, again, like making time and space for self care and rest, making time for hobbies and things that exist like outside of my research. And of course, yeah, like I said, having community, going to dinners and brunches, hanging out with friends, doing stuff like that, even like hanging out with people in my program, like all those things, like are they help a lot with helping you just balance out your life so that you're not like just consumed by research. So
And then Dr. Lee, I'm sure you have some thoughts on this.
I have lots of thoughts on this. I think one of the things that I grew up with is seeing my dad work really, 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 really hard. And then once he finally retired and could kind of enjoy the fruits of his labor, he ended up getting sick. And like I truly think that like he kind of worked himself to get to that point. And so I feel like early on I learned the importance of balance and like sure work is important, but it can't be everything. And so making sure to make time for that. I also at one point in grad school got sick. I had like really, really migraines, couldn't leave bed. And ended up in therapy where my therapist was like, I think you just need friends. And so that was like my reminder to take a step back. I got involved with a gym. I really started spending more time with friends. And so by necessity had that kind of force to realize how important work-life balance is. And then since then, it's been really important for me. Like I work out most days, go to concerts and other things to have fun. I do think that oftentimes, especially in grad school, you can feel like you don't have the time, but the truth is, like we do, we are kind of in control of our schedule. I'm an early morning gal, so like I'll wake up early to make sure I get the things done. But really just figuring out what's important to you, what allows you to reset, and then making sure you create the time to do it.
Okay, awesome. I think we still have some time for more questions if there are any in the chat. Okay, so there's another question that came in a different chat. So for someone that's interested in studying quantum, where should they start? And I think we should answer this kind of in two ways. So there are some IBM HBCU quantum scholars here. There's also some Spelman students that are here. So is there a path and an avenue and advice for those that are kind of already in the IBM HBCU system? And then maybe secondarily, so are there ways that people can start studying quantum A on their own through free resources or anything like that? So either one that you guys want to answer or both, please, and we'll start with Victoria.
Yeah, I'd definitely say, I guess for the first part, yeah, if you're already in the IBM HBCU Quantum Center, I guess a good thing would be to like try to just explore any resources that you have on campus. Get, of course, like if you're already in the lab doing research, try to use it as an opportunity to see if like your professors have any connections at other institutions where you can do like internships over the summer, and you can like learn a lot, get a lot of information there. Um, and then, in addition to that, I guess if you just need like free resources, I got interested in quantum from like YouTube. So like just being online, textbooks are helpful. Like learning about quantum mechanics if you haven't taken it yet, and then taking reading like computational or yeah, intro to quantum information science textbooks and stuff like that. Those are all things that can help. So.
Kayla?
Yeah, I think I echo that. There are a lot of great books on if you're really just interested in getting started to read. I think my biggest bit of advice is to just don't read, but do. And so, like, quantum computing is definitely, and quantum mechanics and physics is like a hands-on field where understanding how different variables interact with each other, like how to actually build a circuit, becomes really important. And so, making sure that your hands-on keyboard, building circuits, writing code, I think is just a great way to learn, but it also gives you a set of demonstratable skills. 'Cause that's the thing, like as an employer, we're looking for. So glad you're interested in it. Like, what have you built on Qiskit or your favorite quantum software? I know that IBM has a lot of different resources, and then something that we've started to do with our scholars within the center. There are several different like badges and learning paths that we have people on. And we're looking forward to engage in the future with a startup who actually provides an educational platform that can really take people from 0 to 100. And so those are different ways. I'd say that for people that are at the beginning and don't know where to start, please feel free to reach out to us. Like, I think you're the people that we absolutely want to help the most.
Yes. And then I'll just add that one of the startups I think Kayla's talking about is QBraid, and we're hoping to work with them for the IBM HPC Quantum Center to do a few hackathons for those that are North Carolina A&T, that they've already done some in North Carolina for some of our center scholars, and we're hopeful that we can partner with them in Chicago for NESB. So please be on the lookout for that for those that are interested. There's also another question. So are there any opportunities for I know Victoria said that she had an experience, I think it was from NSF, that you were able to do research in France with another one of our quantum scholars that was there too, Jordan Coley. Are there any other opportunities for an international collaboration that you all might know about in quantum?
I'd suggest just like looking it up. I feel that's how I found my internship. My internship was through the University of Michigan. So like there's like some schools that I think will have something similar, like an international REU type of thing. So yeah.
And Dr. Lee, did you have any things? I know that IBM is very active in Japan.
Absolutely. So we are working with folks all around the world. I'd say one of the most interesting things are that we've deployed quantum systems in different geographies. And so that's a great way to see our quantum systems are sort of a sign of people investing in a regional or national ecosystem. And so we currently have quantum computers in Japan, Korea, Canada, at Cleveland Clinic in the United States, and the Basque region in Europe. And so those are places where I think they're are really focused on building large ecosystems. Oh, and I forgot to mention RPI in the US also. And so that's one place to start. And then just definitely like quantum computing and quantum information sciences continuing to be a global effort. A lot of different countries have their own initiatives. And so finding places that have existing quantum information science masters and PhD programs is probably a good place to start because they're always looking for either interns, graduate students, postdocs, and even professors.
Awesome. Are there any more questions in the chat? I don't think I have it open. I have another question. So for Victoria and for Kayla, where do you see the field of quantum information science? And the reason why I asked this actually is because it's come up in the presidential debate. It's been really big news lately. One thing that Kayla really pointed out was this very much excitement from all major companies releasing new papers on error correction codes using real quantum hardware. So things are moving very, very fast, right? So where do you see kind of quantum information science as a whole in the next 5 years and then maybe in the next 20 years?
Victoria, you can start on that one.
I'm honestly not sure. I'm hoping that it's a positive. I hope that it's that we're able to solve more complex problems faster. And I'm hoping that, as a country, we're able to be ahead, I guess, in the race, I guess, for creating functional quantum computers. So, yeah.
I'd say that because I live in like the quantum world where every day I wake up and we're thinking about quantum computing, I probably have like a very specific vision. But what I like telling people is that the word artificial intelligence was used in a paper for the first time back in like the 1950s. And if you were to even go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s and look at the evolution of a classical computer, we've seen so much happen over time, right? When you think about the technology that actually drives GPS, I mean, I grew up in the day where we would print out MapQuest directions, and now I can get anywhere with GPS on my phone. And so there's just so much opportunity in technology where I think, honestly, the next 5 years, it will continue to look like innovative research where people are continuing to push the boundaries on what's possible. We're really focused on growing the community. Historically, it was just physicists in the space. We've seen that since quantum computers have become more of a reality, that like computer scientists and engineers are more engaged. And so continuing to grow that talent pool. I think in the 20-year time frame is when you start to see interesting things. And like, I can't even fathom what interesting is because I grew up when like the first cell phone was a thing and all you could do was like play Snake on your Nokia brick. Now you can literally do as much on your cell phone as you can do on a computer. And so I think that there's just a lot of opportunity for what the future could take us and where it could go. And I like reminding people that that's the power of research, where you make these incremental improvements from a scientific understanding and discovery. And then at some point, it's applied to technology. Another really interesting example is just like compression and software storage technology, where like for a while it was really hard to compress data and information. And once we were able to do that, things like video conversations became a possibility. And so there are all of these like incremental changes we need to see in technology. And then who knows what we'll be able to do, or like what types of things we'll be able to build on top of it from like the software and applications perspective. And so I'd say research first, innovation next.
Okay, awesome. So for Victoria, oh, sorry. So there's another question from Rashid. So how do you all think quantum computing and information science can support the field of medicine, which is a very interesting question. Kayla, would you like to take this?
I'll say just really quickly, one of the folks that IBM is working closely with is Cleveland Clinic. And so they are really focused on how quantum computing could improve the field of healthcare and life science. And they're kind of interested in being a leader thinking about that. I'd say the most obvious space is any sort of quantitative data analysis. And so the field that I started in biology was really how can we use computer science and physics to solve biological questions. A lot of that is driven by high performance computing power. And so there are lots of different things within just data analysis and understanding things where we expect to see an impact. There was a paper published with Amgen where they were thinking about the impact of quantum computing on clinical trials. And so we spend a lot of time and money on clinical trials. Often they will get to clinical trials and we see that efficacy is not good enough. And so how can we reduce that time or be more intentional about the people that we engage? Moderna recently published a paper related to RNA and quantum computing, so understanding the impact that it could have there. So I'd say that pharma is definitely thinking about quantum computing from an analysis, a drug discovery, computational drug design, those sorts of things. But we see medicine and biology more and more leading with data. And so because of that, it provides an opportunity for quantum computing to have an impact.
Awesome. Did you have anything to add to that, Victoria?
No.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think we have about 5 minutes left. So Kayla or Victoria, did you all have just a parting words or advice or encouragement or anything you would like to share with the audience? We can start with Dr. Lee.
Sure. I am just really excited to be here despite the rainy weather. You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. And excited for the women that we have coming to speak in the future. And so continue to bring your enthusiasm, your excitement. We're really excited that we're able to bring such like a unique and interesting community. I mentioned before that just over 100 Black women have PhDs in physics. I feel like I know a lot of them. And so you all are getting to know this like extremely unique and talented community and like learn all that you can from them. And then I'm excited that you all are also interested in quantum information science. And so we're here to be like guides and resources. And so let us know if you have any other questions. And thank you for joining.
Okay, and Victoria?
Yeah, just along the same lines. I'm very excited. And I'm just like happy to be here, happy to be one of the first speakers. And I'm really excited to see like, all the new faces that I'll see in quantum research. And then also just words of encouragement, like to be resilient, persevere through like difficulties, through research or classes, all of that. You can get through it. If I can do it, you can do it. So
All right, awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time today to share your stories about persistence and resilience in quantum. I'd also like to thank Spelman College in the physics department. So the chair, Dr. McNeese, and then also Miss Jeanette Lewis helped us a lot with organizing this. And a special shout out to my colleague, Professor Zai, who is our IBM Scholar in Residence at Spelman, who also works with me in a Department of Energy grant. So thank you so much to Spelman for working with us in this, partnering with us in this endeavor. And then also thank you so much for the students in the wider audience that joined us on YouTube today. And we'll be very excited on October the 24th to have an in-person homecoming special edition. And then we'll also continue it throughout the end of this semester and next semester. So thank you all so much for attending our first Women in Quantum series. And we'll be very excited to see you all in person and online next month. So thank you.